Hello everyone, I am DN Molo, and today I will be continuing my series of reacting to my Watch Later playlist. That's right, Watch Later, DNM, 1685 videos left. I'm on my way to react to them all, so that way I have less videos to watch later. Oh wow, I have it into all videos and shorts. Why is that still there? I already watched it. Move and watch later. Oh, by the way, very funny short. Look it up if you want to. I really enjoyed it. Let's go. Let's watch it
Sorry,
now.
black boys, only white men can handle that. On behalf of black men everywhere, we wholeheartedly support your decision. On behalf of all white people, we sincerely admire your graciousness. However, we will be declining your generous offer and adamantly urge that the
Mexicans take one for the team. On behalf of the Mexicans, there are some jobs we won't even do. Maybe the Asians can take this one. On behalf of the Asian culture, we also kindly decline this generous act. As we are practicing our arithmetic, playing piano, ninja flying arts, maybe the Muslims have the answer you seek. On behalf of all the Muslims, we are gonna have to in fact decline the offer for the simple fact we don't eat pork. And to this day, racism was no longer a thing. You should follow me. Sorry, black boys, only white men.
Well, time to remove from watch later. And what did I get to remove? Oh, anyway, let's watch the different types of medieval castles by Sadiversity. Honestly, I haven't watched honestly, I haven't watched any of Sadiversity's videos lately. I probably should, check out some more of their videos, although, there was a time when I watched a lot of the videos made by this YouTube channel. I got some very interesting stuff. If you care about castles and weapons and architecture and medieval things and all that, check it out. Pretty good channel. Anyway, let's skip the ad and react. Wow, it's been a while since I heard the intro. There we go. Yeah, I forgot how epic it is. The mic is... Yeah, the mic's on. That's good. Let's listen to the intro again.
Greetings, I'm Shaq, and this video has been in the making for a very long time. A detailed breakdown of the types of medieval castles. The reason why it's taken so long is that this subject is a very sophisticated and complex thing. I didn't want to leave out any types of castles, but the more I learned about it...
Beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful right here. Honestly, I think we'll love to just, draw, some of these castles. It'll probably take me a while, but, man, the fence part would definitely be worth, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
The more I've come to realize is how diverse this subject really is. So instead of holding off so long to the point that this video never gets made,
I've got to visit Europe someday. And I gotta go to Europe and see all the castles. That's something I've got to do.
I'm going to make this video
video to the best of my current ability. What this means is that this video is not going to be an exhaustive list. I'm sure you're going to be able to find a type of castle that doesn't necessarily fit in with the definitions I'm about to explain. Indeed, it's interesting to find out that many common types of castles, some of the very most common, don't have an official academic definition, even when they fall within a clearly identifiable type. And in those cases, I'll simply be defining them as best I can. In fact, in some instances, I'll be prescribing a definition that I've made up myself simply because it seems like no one else has done this before, or at the very least, I haven't been able to find it. And my definitions aren't going to be something that I'm going to try.
Oh, that's the one in the thumbnail right here. This video, not the video you're watching, but the video I'm watching. But in a way, we're watching the same video. By the way, if you haven't clicked off the video already, thank you. You're a great person. Thank you for not clicking off the video. I know this is not the best video. Here I am with no mic and just my voice is just echoing all over the place and all that. Is it possible for me to reduce the echo here? And then again, I guess I have watched some of the videos and don't really hear echo, so it's just echo when I'm recording it. Quite annoying. Yeah, bad lighting, bad audio. Honestly, if you haven't clicked off, you're an amazing person. And honestly, I respect you and to a certain parasocial extent, I love you. You seem like a great guy, willing to give the smaller guy a shot. Either that or you have absolutely no standards for quality. You have the lowest standards possible. You'll just watch any junk that's given to you. At which point, I think I just insulted you just now. But hey, let's laugh at each other, It's good to laugh at yourself once in a while.
I'm going to be using the most intuitive and descriptive way of defining a type of castle as I can, so when someone hears the word, they could clearly understand the type of castle this is categorized. Now, I'm not going to try and define the different types of castle keeps, because a castle keep can really be made in any way so long as it's fortified. In many instances, the keep was the whole castle. This is in the cases where the castle didn't have the outer walls, such as tower houses or fortified manor houses. And so trying to categorize all the different ways in which a keep can be designed when those designs are pretty much infinite, well, you can kind of see how superfluous such a...
Honestly, I've never thought of this design right here. As I should probably incorporate this design sometime in my webcomic that I'm making. Speaking of which, you should check it out. The art in the first three chapters is quite terrible, but it's still not the best art. But honestly, I am planning on later on, be doing the entire first like 2 to 3 episodes and all that, and better art and better. Add some things, take some things out. Make it a better story and, better way to, hook the audience, get the audience's attention and all that. So, yeah, check out my webcomic and, subscribe to my follow my it's on Webtoon and all that. I'll leave a link in the description for my webcomic down below, in case I forgot. And in case I forgot, then go to Webtoon and type in Mission dot 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 quest dot 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 thing exclamation point question mark exclamation point, and you'll find it. Very unique name.
Devil B. Having said that, though, there are some certain key, distinct, common styles of castle keeps, such as the Norman keep, the Shell keep, but when you get into the real nitty-gritty, it becomes ultimately pointless. The next thing we need to understand when we try and define the different types of castles is that many castles fall into multiple categories. And so, without any further ado, let's get right into it. And I'll start with the two most common castle design styles, and what's really interesting about this is that I have not found an official categorical academic definition for this design type when they are so common and prominent. And perhaps it's because these design types are so intuitive that people can just really define it by describing it. For instance, the first one is what I will call the enclosed castle. An enclosed castle is simply a castle that has a keep, a main fortified building that is enclosed, surrounded by an outer defensive wall. Historic examples of these types of castles is the Tower of London, Rochester Castle, and Gravenstein Castle, with many, many more. The outer wall can have multiple defensive buildings, a part of it that link the wall together or attached to it on the inside. The key defining feature about this is that the primary defensive building is not attached to the outer walls. There can be a wall leading from the outer walls to the inner keep, but the main fortified building itself does not form a part of the outer wall. And that is the enclosed castle. The next very common type of castle, which again is one that I found no official academic definition for, is what I will call the linked castle. Now you might think this is not too intuitive by naming this type the linked castle, but once you hear me explain it, I think you will agree with me. The key defining feature of the linked castle is that
I can already see it. Like with the enclosed car, so keep it separate from the wall, and a wall just surrounds it. As you can tell, the keep is connected to the wall. The keep is part of the wall. The wall and the keep are one. The one, man. The one.
Primary defensive building, and not just
the main primary one, but most of the primary defensive buildings form a part of the outer wall or help link the outer wall together, hence link. One, but most of the primary defensive buildings form a part of the outer wall or help link the outer wall together, hence linked castle. They're all linked together. Some beautiful historical examples of linked castles is Lauder Slot, Rhodium Castle, Portchester Castle, Castle Chillon, the Cartha Castles, one of them being Chateau de Poloron.
Beautiful image. One of these days I gotta draw something like this.
Now, what's interesting about this definition that I call the linked castles is that there are actually more official, more academic definitions of castles that fall within the linked castle definition, but are really subcategories because they're more defined and more specific, one of them being the Philippian castle. This is a far more specific linked castle design, usually defined by having a set gatehouse, 4 primary towers in each corner of the outer walls, one of them being much larger, and you could define that as the keep or donjon.
What was that?
Defined by having a set gatehouse, 4 primary towers in each corner of the outer walls, one of them being much larger, and you could define that as the keep or donjon, depending on how you define the Great Hall. The Great Hall usually sitting on the other side of the gatehouse, in between the 2 rear towers attached to the walls. A perfect example of what you would identify as a Philippian castle is Castle Guedelon, which actually isn't a historical castle, it's a modern recreation of a Philippian castle currently being built France. Another interesting subcategory of the linked castle doesn't really have an official definition, but a more cultural deviation or separation in design, which is why I call it the Germanic castle, because it was far more common and prominent in the Germanic medieval lands. The key defining feature of what I call the Germanic castle is that the primary fortified tower is separated distinctively from the primary fortified living quarters. There's not a lot of these type of castles that have survived to the modern day. The best example of a surviving Germanic castle is Bedzin Castle, but there are many ruins of this castle type that would be now to kind of work backwards and figure out what they would have looked like originally, which archaeologists have done and redrawn them, which gives us a clear indication that this castle type was actually quite common within this region. In fact, one of the best resources where you can see this type of castle recreated is actually the video game Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've done reviews of the castles in this game and a review of the video game overall for its general historical accuracy, and it's brilliant. They really did a phenomenal job at recreating medieval Bohemia. This type of castle is the
very beautiful game, it looks like. Yeah. Now, perhaps one of these days I should play it, although I don't typically play video games that much. Yeah, I'm not much of a gamer, sorry to disappoint.
historical example where the primary living quarters were separated from a primary defensive building. The fortified defensive tower of this type of castle, which I call the Germanic castle, is called the Burgfried, and the fortified living quarters generally was called the Palas, P-A-L-A-S, though there might have been more general terminology for them. In translation, I would call the primary fortified tower the donjon, and the fortified living quarters the keep, even though originally keep wasn't the word used to define the primary fortified building. Keep comes from the word keep, which is a general definition for a shell keep. And as I explained in my video on castle towers, most of the primary fortified buildings would have been called the donjon, and donjon and keep be considered synonymous in that sense. It's just that now language has evolved, and I find it very useful is that there is a difference in the definitions of donjon and keep, and we can apply that in a very useful sense when the primary fortified living quarters is actually separated from the primary fortified tower. The best example is being this type of castle, the Germanic castle, but this isn't the only instance historically where the primary fortified tower is actually separated from a primary fortified living quarters, and those kind of two primary fortified towers that actually had a separation in their utility or the way in which they were employed. Most Germanic castles fall under the linked castle category, though I do suspect, I haven't been able to find any examples, which is why I put it as a subcategory of linked, but I do suspect there's probably examples of the Germanic castle type which actually fall under the enclosed castle definition. So the fortified tower and the fortified living quarters is disconnected from the outer wall and it's enclosed by it. And so in that instance, it would be an enclosed Germanic castle instead of a linked Germanic castle. Another interesting type of linked castle is distinctive enough that it deserves its own subcategory as well. It is what I call the towered castle, not tower castle, towered castle. It's different to many other types of linked castle in that it is basically comprised of a wall that is linked together by large towers, and that's it. They can have internal smaller buildings that's attached to the outer wall, but the primary fortified buildings are the towers that link the walls together. The two best examples of what I define as a towered castle would be Carnarvon Castle and Conway Castle. All the primary and most important rooms of this castle are located within the towers that connect the walls together. The reason why I wouldn't classify Bodiam Castle as a towered castle is that all the buildings that connect its outer walls together aren't really, similar towers. Bodiam has more variety in the towers that are linking its walls together with a primary gatehouse. It comes close to what I would call a towered castle. It maybe at a stretch it could, but I think it doesn't really fall so neatly within this category as Carnarvon and Conway. Now, there might actually be more subcategories of linked castles, so if you do know of any, please do share them in the comments below. The next more common kind of primary castle definition or type is one that doesn't fall under the linked castle or enclosed castle category, and you kind of say these three are the main castle types, even though there are more. It's just the later castle types will generally be the castle type I'm about to describe now, or a linked castle, or be an enclosed castle, as well as the definition that is explained. So the one I'm about to explain now is, again, the next most distinctive type, which is simply the unwalled castle, which is fully self-explanatory. It is a fortified defensive building without an outer wall around it. Now, I've come across the incorrect notion that some people have had that the defining feature of a castle is that it must have a wall around it, and this is completely incorrect. You can find many historical examples of castles that don't have outer walls, and they would fall under this category of the unwalled castles. You have Pajama Castle, you have many of the Scottish Tower houses, which are most definitely fortified castles, and then you have the castle watchtowers like Peel Towers. The difficulty in trying to define all the different subtypes and categories of the unwalled castle is that the unwalled castle is simply a fortified keep, and they can be designed in any way that anyone wants, really. But having said that, there are certain more common types of unwalled castles that have had definitions placed through them. One being the Tower House. Two great examples of castle tower houses is Clackmannan Tower and Borthwick Castle. But there are many historical fortified tower houses that clearly fall under the castle definition, as well as castles in general that don't have outer walls, like Pajama Castle. The Tower House sometimes can be as basic as a sealed off square kind of building that doesn't necessarily even have ventilation, but it's made of thick stone without any large windows where someone can climb up and crawl in through. The door is strong, sturdy, and can be locked off and is basically fully sealed off and protected from anyone outside. But then you also have tower houses that do have some measure of battlements upon them as well, which just enhances their defensive capacity. Another classic type of unwalled castle would be the fortified manor house. Now, having said that, you can have fortified manor houses that do have walls around them, and so they could be also another sub-classification of an enclosed castle or linked castle, but when they don't have a wall around them, they would also fall under this classification of an unwalled castle, and a fortified manor house is pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes they were just a manor house with a moat around them that had a bridge that could be removed and replaced. That is a type of castle. Sometimes they had more fortifications and battlements on the building structure itself. They didn't necessarily need to be made out of stone either. Another subclassification is one that I've already mentioned.
Wait, what was that?
To be made out of stone either.
Oh.
Another subclassification is one that I've already mentioned is the Peel Tower, which is essentially a watchtower that was placed on the border between England and Scotland. The thing that defines a Peel Tower separate to just a standard watchtower was that someone actually lived in them. They're a very small, unwalled type of castle. Now, you could also class certain classic keep styles, if they didn't have a wall around them, as a type of unwalled castle, like a Norman keep that didn't have a wall around it. It could just be called, this is the Norman keep style of unwalled castle. This is the same with a shell keep. But there are actually additional styles of keeps that I haven't even been able to find a set definition for, and sometimes they're one-offs, but other times their design style is reproduced, and when they're reproduced, I feel they deserve their own definition. I just haven't been able to find them. For instance,
Interesting, so some keeps are just one-offs.
like, look at this keep. This is a very interesting, distinct style of keep. It's an enclosed castle just by itself, but if this keep was...
Oh. Yeah, I guess that is... I guess that is a pretty unique style keep there. Oh, beautiful. This paint right here. So beautiful. Ah, now this is pure. Just fantasy, old school fantasy. That's just it is almost like something out of a fairy tale. Oh, well, maybe not a fairy tale. No. This not a fairy tale, but no, but a children's story about a brave knight fighting a dragon and all that. Ah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Really captures the imagination so immature.
Built without a wall, what style of unwalled castle would it be then? What type of keep would you classify it as? Here's another interesting style of keep that could be its own sub-classification of an unwalled castle that was built just by itself. But as I mentioned before, you can design different styles of keeps and unwalled castles in really an infinite number of styles and configurations. So it's ultimately impossible to categorize them all, just if there are enough examples of styles of unwalled castles, or just keeps, being built in the medieval period, well then they do kind of deserve a set classification for them. I just haven't been able to find out if some of these more unique keep designs have an official definition, when I really feel because they're so distinctive there should technically be one around already. I just haven't been able to find it, so I'm more reluctant to classify it myself. But just to let you know that there are more distinctive, unique styles of keeps that could be sub-classifications of an unwalled castle. The next castle types I'm about to describe will generally also be either a linked castle or a closed castle. The first one that I'll explain now is what I call the poly-ward castle, or the poly-warded castle. This is another castle type that was very clear and distinctive in its design that deserved its own category, which I was not able to find an official academic definition for, so I had to make the name myself, and it is simply defined as a castle with multiple separate wards or bailies. Now it's important to understand what I mean when I say separate, because this is not a concentric castle, which thankfully is an established academic definition of a type of castle, which simply means a castle within a castle, or a bailey ward within another bailey or ward that's enclosed by another. Right? So a poly-warded castle would be a castle that has a bailey or ward that is literally separate to, outside of the primary or main ward, and you need to move through one of these separate bailies to get to the primary one. Some great examples of this style of castle is Corfe Castle, with several external bailies that you have to actually move through to get to the main central bailey and keep, as well as Chateau Goyard. Now I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's spelled Gillard, but I'm not good with French pronunciation, but I'm going with Goyard. But it is a beautiful castle design, and it would also technically be both a linked castle and a concentric castle, as well as this category, a poly-warded castle. And what's great and very useful about these definitions is that they can be put together. You can define Chateau Goyard very accurately as an enclosed concentric poly-warded castle. And I should have explained that poly is a prefix that is added to adjectives or nouns which indicate many or multiple. For instance,
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure most people watching this video should be smart enough to know what poly means. Well, unless they're middle schoolers. Like, I guess if you're in middle school and you're watching this, first of all, you're a major nerd. I'm just joking. I think I started watching Shadiversity when I was probably like in middle school. Yeah, I think it was middle school when I subscribed to this YouTube channel. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like if you're over the age of 15 or 16, you probably know what poly is.
wines. Poly anything generally means multiple of something, and so polyward or polywarded means more than one Bailey. And I go with ward because polybailey or polybailey doesn't sound nearly as good. And there are many examples of polywarded castles, so this is a very useful and needed definition. There is actually a sub-definition to the polywarded castle, which is an official academic definition that many have actually heard of before, and that is the Mott and Bailey Castle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking this whole time. Like, aren't some of these castles that you're showing, aren't they just Port and Bailey's? I've thought of this type of castle before, so that's what I was, wondering. The whole time, this one. This is one of those Port and Bailey castles. Wait, did I say that right? Yeah, that's what he's saying. Oh, Mott and Bailey. Ah, I'm so stupid. Mott and Bailey. I don't know why I said Port instead of Mott. Yeah, it's Mott and Bailey.
Castle. The Mott and Bailey Castle is very much a polywarded castle. It's even in the name. Bailey is describing an enclosed section, a bailey, that is separate to the motte, which is the foundation of the main defensive tower. Of course, a Mott and Bailey is a more specific type of polywarded castle because it's one of the earliest types of castles we have on record.
Yeah, that's why I've heard about it. In fact, I heard about the Mott and Bailey from I first heard about it from this YouTube channel, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. Man. I have been subscribed to this YouTube channel for a very long time. No, it's... Yeah, I just got added to this channel, and in a fun fact, it is because of this channel that I, discovered another YouTube channel that I watch, pretty much every video they upload, Overly Sarcastic Productions. I discovered that YouTube channel thanks to this YouTube channel, and now I watch more of, OSP's videos than this YouTube channel's videos. So, yeah.
They're more predominantly made of wood and has some very distinctive features like the Mott specifically, whereas a regular polywarded castle doesn't need the main defensive tower to be on a Mott. But you see how those definitions are working? Very classic, iconic castle types fit perfectly within these broader definitions. The next definition, which we already mentioned, is of course the concentric castle, which means a castle within a castle, specifically a castle that has an outer wall that is surrounded by a secondary outer wall. They can be...
What's the name again?
Definitions. The next definition, which we already mentioned, is of course the concentric castle, which means a castle within a castle, specifically a castle that has an outer wall that is surrounded by a secondary outer wall. They can be either a linked castle or an enclosed castle to fall under this category. Best examples of either a linked castle or an enclosed...
Oh, this is a great picture here. Just look at that dark grey stone. Epic. Love it. I love this image right here. It's incredible, amazing. Well, what can I say? I just love castles. I just love castles. Castles are amazing. Man. Oh. I know if I could, I would visit every castle on the planet. They are just so amazing.
Most castle to fall under this category. Best examples of concentric castles is Balmaris Castle or Harlech Castle, but as said before, even Chateau Goyard, being a cold water castle, is also technically a concentric castle because its main primary bailey, the small one that is linked to the primary keep, is surrounded by another secondary wall forming another bailey, which is also separate to an additional bailey or ward that is disconnected completely, which you have to travel through to get to it. Chateau Goyard is just an amazing castle, so defensive and such a good example of many castle types. So these are the primary medieval castle types definitions that I have been able to find and figure out through my own research. I do believe this list is fairly comprehensive, but that of course doesn't discount the possibility that I might learn of more. For instance, I do feel there might be more specific types of linked castles, such as the Philippian castle, and so I just haven't been able to learn of them yet. But the main ones are fairly categorical: imposed, linked, or unwalled. The thing is, I do have to point out that these are the definitions that I've been able to learn of medieval castles, okay? Castle as a term is something that has evolved over time.
I wonder what's the name of this castle. Very, very big, expensive, fancy. Definitely very big. I mean, if I was there, I think I would be definitely very intimidated by the sheer size of this. Huh. Yeah.
And so there are further kind of castle types that fall outside of these categories, but they also fall outside of the medieval period. For instance, you could say the Schloss is a type of castle. Schloss is actually a German word that refers to a castle that isn't really a castle. It's not fortified. In English, we would always refer to these castles as castles, like Neuschwanstein is a perfect example. It's not actually a properly fortified medieval castle, but we would definitely call it a castle still. Many chateaux are referred to as castles, and they would then also fall under this category that I would define as a schloss. Another interesting example is Windsor Castle. It has been renovated and added onto so many times that it has lost its fortified validity to be considered a proper true medieval castle. It's fortified, it has been renovated and added onto.
Huh. I have got to visit this place one of these days. Unfortunately, I don't have the money. Speaking of which, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that way eventually I might make enough money to visit. And then, I don't know, I guess I'll make vlogs of me visiting all the various castles. I don't know, you guys might find that interesting. Subscribe! Check out my Patreon! I got 3 tiers, $1, $5, $10. Come on, give me $10. Yeah, give me all your money so I can see all the pretty castles. Yeah, do that. Yeah, give me all your money, yeah.
So many times that it has lost its fortified validity to be considered a proper true medieval castle. Though it did exist in the medieval period, it was fortified once upon a time, but now it has open windows and walls and everything like that. It is still most definitely a castle. It's even a historical medieval castle, but it's not a properly fortified castle, and many of its supposed fortifications are there purely for aesthetics. Another example of buildings we most definitely call castles in the modern day, but aren't real medieval castles, are, say, Scots baronial castles, which are really manor houses that have fake fortifications and battlements on them purely for aesthetics. The most official definition for castle in the modern day kind of means any building that looks castle-like. Those types of ones I would generally put under their own category as perhaps Schloss castles, fake castles, chateaus. But if we've learned anything from this video, is that there are many chateaus. But if we've learned anything from this...
Now this castle. Oh, This is a beautiful castle. I mean, honestly, it definitely looks like one of those fantasy castles that, like, you just see in like Harry Potter or something. Oh, just I love the roofs and the kind of dark blue color constructing with the the white and light gray stone. Oh, man, I love it.
Video is that there are many castle types, and I hope I've been able to define more accurately and more specifically the medieval castles so we can get a much better understanding of them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and of course, I hope to see you again. So until that time,
Sorry to interrupt so much. I just I wanted to yeah, I just like the bigness of it. So yeah, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. So I wasn't able to, too much academic information. I mean, I'm not exactly a professional historian or anything, but yeah. But I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more, and like and comment. If not, comment. If not, so you. Because you have something to say, but this is coming for the algorithm, and also remember to like, that helps the algorithm, and subscribe for more videos. Come on, get those subscription numbers up. I want my YouTube channel to be monetized. Yeah, give me money so I can see the castles. Yeah, sorry, subscribe so I can one day in the future travel to Europe. See all the castles. And I'll make videos of me seeing the castles too when that day comes. If it ever comes, I hope it does come. Because I like castles, in case you didn't notice.